This building is one of the most important structures in Islam, but it is not just a building, it is a mausoleum. This is the tomb where the last prophet of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, is buried. The green domed structure that the world recognizes today is known as Al-Hujra, which literally means the green dome. Because Prophet Muhammad was buried here, this place became one of the most revered and emotionally significant sites in the Islamic history. For millions of Muslims, it is not just a monument of stone and architecture, but a space deeply tied to faith, memory, and devotion. But here is something many people do not know. The green dome was not always green. In fact, for a large part of its history, it was not green at all. It was white. Another surprising fact is this: the structure that stands over the Prophet's grave today was not built during his lifetime. It was constructed many years after his passing. Before that, this place was extremely simple. There was no dome, no monument, just a modest resting place. And here is a question rarely asked: do you know in whose house this tomb stands today? In which room Prophet Muhammad was buried? In this video, I will tell you the complete story of the Prophet's tomb, when it was built, who built it, and how it came to be painted green, and most importantly, why this place holds such immense significance for Muslims across the world. So significant that millions travels to Medina every year, especially during Hajj and Umrah, just to stand near it. This is not just history, it is a tradition passed down through centuries. So stay with me till the end to get the full story. This story begins in the 7th century. The year is 632 AD. That year, an event occurred that changed the course of Islam forever. Prophet Muhammad passed away. For Muslims, this was an unimaginable loss. The Prophet was not only a religious leader, but a guide, a teacher, and the foundation of a new civilization. His death left the community in grief and uncertainty. Almost immediately, a critical question arose: where should the Prophet be buried? Islamic tradition provided a clear answer. A prophet is buried at the place where he passes away, at the exact spot where the soul leaves the body. This belief settled the decision. The place where Prophet Muhammad breathed his last would become his final resting place. So, where did Prophet Muhammad pass away? In his final days, he suffered from severe fever and headaches. According to historical records, his illness lasted for nearly 12 to 13 days. One day before his death, despite his weakness, he went to the mosque. There, he addressed the people one last time. He delivered his final sermons and asked a very personal question: had he wronged anyone? Had he taken anyone's rights unfairly? If so, he asked them to come forward immediately. After his final address, he returned home. Prophet Muhammad passed away in the lap of Hazrat Ayesha. That means he passed away in her room. This detail would later shape the history of one of the most sacred sites in Islam. Aisha was one of the Prophet Muhammad's beloved wives. Her house was located in Medina, in present-day Saudi Arabia. Her room was directly connected to Masjid Nabawi. Now, what is Masjid Nabawi? Masjid Nabawi is the second holiest mosque in Islam. It is also known as the Prophet's Mosque. Prophet Muhammad himself built it in 622 AD, shortly after his migration from Mecca to Medina. This mosque was not just a place of prayer, it was a center of learning, governance, and community life. What makes this site unique is this: the mosque built by the Prophet and the room where he was buried exist side by side. This is one of the main reasons why millions of Muslims visit Medina every year. However, the tomb did not look like it does today. In the early years, there was no grand structure. Islam placed great emphasis on simplicity, humility, and restraint. Large monuments over graves were discouraged. As a result, the Prophet's grave was extremely simple: just a mound of earth, a quiet reflection of the life he lived. The room where he was buried was known as Al-Hujra Al-Sharifah, meaning the sacred chamber. According to Sahih Bukhari and Kitab al-Janaz, this is the exact place where Prophet Muhammad breathed his last and where he rests to this day. Another important detail is often overlooked. In the early years, Hazrat Ayesha's room was separate from the mosque. It was not part of the prayer area. As Masjid Nabawi expanded over time, this room was gradually enclosed within the mosque complex. However, historians note that it was never treated as an ordinary space. According to historian Muhammad Ilyas Abdul Ghani, the room was always protected by a wall to preserve its sanctity. This ensured that the Prophet's resting place remained distinct and respected. From the very beginning, special care was taken to protect this space, and that care has continued for centuries. It is also important to understand that this is not the Prophet's tomb alone. The same chamber also contains the grave of two other towering figures in Islamic history. The first Caliph of Islam, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, was buried here. So was the second Caliph, Hazrat Umar ibn al-Khattab. Both were laid to rest beside the Prophet inside Hazrat Ayesha's room. As a result, this single chamber became the final resting place of three of the most influential personalities in Islam. Yet, despite its importance, the place remained modest in its early years. The chamber was enclosed by a wall. This separated it from the rest of the mosque and protected it from growing crowds. Over time, more people wanted to come closer, to offer their respects, to stand near the Prophet's resting place. To manage this, simple wooden structures were added. Light roofs were built to protect the tomb from weather and crowd pressure. These additions were practical, not symbolic. At this stage, the green dome did not exist. But it was clear that the site could not remain unchanged forever. Islamic scholar Dr. Muhammad Sayyid Tantawi explains that in early Islam, grand structures over graves were discouraged. However, in the case of the Prophet's tomb, modest protective structures were permitted out of respect. What followed was a slow and carefully monitored transformation, not sudden, not excessive. Across centuries, each ruling era added small protective elements, and throughout this process, preservation remained the priority. As time passed, powerful Islamic dynasties took responsibility for the site: the Umayyads, the Abbasids, and later the Mamluks. This brings us to a crucial question: when was the first dome built? The first dome built over the Prophet's tomb was constructed nearly 600 years after his death. It was built in 1229 AD during the 13th century on the orders of Mamluk Sultan Al-Mansur Qawlun. The dome was made of wood and it was white in color. This was the first time a dedicated structure stood above the sacred grave. At that time, the Mamluk Sultanate ruled Egypt and Syria, and its architecture was admired across the Islamic world. Fire, lightning, and survival history, however, was not kind to the structure. In 1481, a massive fire broke out in Medina. Later that same year, lightning struck the tomb, causing severe damages. The Mamluk Sultan Qaitbay ordered the dome to be rebuilt. This time, stronger materials were used to prevent the future destruction. But challenges continued. In the 19th century, lightning struck the dome once again. In 1805, Medina was captured by Saud bin Abdul Aziz, who ruled until 1814. During this period, the Wahhabi movement gained the influence. They opposed domes over graves, believing such structures conflicted with Tawheed, the belief in one God. Many tomb domes across Medina were demolished. The Green Dome was damaged, but it survived. Now we come to the Green Dome as we know it today. The present dome was built in 19th century, nearly 1200 years after the Prophet's death. By this time, the Ottoman Empire ruled much of the region. The finest techniques of the era were used. In 1837, the dome was painted green. That is when it came to be known as the Green Dome. This change took place during the reign of Ottoman Sultan Mahmud II. The tomb lies beneath a double dome system, an inner dome and an outer dome. This design strengthens the structure and helps regulate temperature inside, an essential feature in Medina's extreme heat. The dome rises about 30 meters or nearly 100 feet. Its height makes it visible across the city. Green is not its only defining feature. Blue accents and silver detailing are also part of its design. Today, the Green Dome, also called Gumbad-e-Khizra, marks the sacred resting place of Prophet Muhammad. That alone gives it immense significance. Millions of Muslims visit Medina every year, especially during Hajj and Umrah, to pray at Masjid Nabawi and offer their respects. Directly beneath the dome lies a sacred area known as Rawdah or Riyaz al-Jannat, meaning one of the gardens of paradise. Praying here is considered highly rewarding. People often wait for hours just to spend a few moments in this place. The general public is not allowed inside the green dome. The dome lies within an inner chamber surrounded by thick walls. Visitors can offer salam only by outside. This preserves both sanctity and security. Some believe the dome was painted green because the Prophet loved the color green and wore green garments. The color later influenced Islamic architecture across the world. There is also an ongoing debate. Some ideological groups argue that Islam values simplicity and opposes grand structures over graves. Yet, the Prophet's tomb has always been treated as an exception. It has never been demolished, only protected and restored, because its importance goes beyond architecture. It is rooted in faith. This is the story of the Green Dome, not just a structure of stone, but a monument shaped by centuries of devotion, a place that continues to live in the hearts of billions. Tell us how this story made you feel in the comments. Don't forget to like and share the video. And for more such fascinating stories from history, subscribe to History Connect English. Thank you.